Welcome to pattern making class. I'm Annette Julie, and today we're going to learn how to make a cap sleeve. Here are some of the pattern making tools I'll be using. We've got pattern making weights, but if you don't have weights, you can use some little cans of tuna or some little cans of tomato sauce. Works just fine. Paper, scissors, pencil, pen, sharpener, a ruler, preferably 2x18, but a straight edge ruler. If you have a curved ruler, that's great as well, or a flexible ruler. This is nice to dust away our little eraser flakes. And you need some tape and a basic sleeve. So let's get started. Move everything over to the side. And I'm going to start with making one copy of my basic bodice sleeve. Let's go ahead and trim the paper. And this is going to be a little short sleeve, so we can go ahead and trim it even further. We'll keep that pattern making paper over there. And here we have enough just to copy off a little bit lower than the bicep level and then up to the cap. Let's find the middle. Let's draw a grain line. Now we're going to take our sleeve here, and we're going to place it matching the grain line right up there at the top. And the bottom, I'm going to look through to see where that grain line is, and that looks perfect. That's matched there. We'll go ahead and trace it off. Look, I can use my tape dispenser as a pattern weight too. When you pattern, feel free to use a pencil. I'm going to use a pen so you can see it. Tracing off the front and back notches, and a little bit of the side seam. So we traced, the underseam. We traced the underseam. And then we started here above the bicep level on the back sleeve cap. We traced the notches. We passed the grain line. We traced that single notch 1/4 inch forward. We traced the front cap, front armhole notch and sleeve cap notch, and then down below the bicep line on the underseam. Okay, let's take a look at it. There's our tracing. That looks great. Let's go down about 1 inch below where our bicep line would be. Okay. So our bicep line right here. Here's the bicep. We've gone down 1 inch. This is the front. This is the back. This has a single notch so it's front. Double notch so it's back. We're also going to come down 1/2 inch at the top of the sleeve cap. Grab your curve ruler and blend that sleeve cap back to the original shape. So here I am taking it off a little bit, stopping before those double notches, blending it back in. Now let's do the front. I'm going to blend that back in. That looks good. And so we've gone down 1/2 inch. We're making a cap sleeve. Let's go ahead and go forward 1/4 inch. We're bringing that notch down. Here it is. We're bringing it down. If you can't see it, put a U over it. That's looking really good. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to curve up our hem. We're also going to bring in our underseam and we're going to start cutting the sleeve out. So let's bring this hem up. I'm going to say, how about we go up about 1.5 inches? And we're going to take this bottom line and we're going to style it. And we're going to bring it up. Okay, now see I have marked that 4 3/4. I'm going to flip my ruler and use the same four 3/4. Line that up on the underseam down that 1 inch. I'm going to give it the same curve. Now we're not using this anymore, nor are we using anything down here. So this looks like a great time to start cutting something out. We're going to go ahead and fold this down the grain line. And we're going to start by cutting out our hem. And this is going above that bicep because it's a little cap sleeve. And look, I've cut them together. Almost the same. We want to make it matching, so I think I'll drop that down a little bit. Put the weight on here. And trim this so it's matching now. Great. This piece we're not using anymore. Now here on the underseam, come in 1/4 inch at the hem. We don't want this to be too large. And angle it to 0. So this is 0, and you've come in 1/4 inch. Now you're going to go ahead and cut. And the rest of the sleeve cap, it's different from front to back. You can make a cutting line up here at the top to make that match. You can make a cutting line down here on the underseam. Let's make sure it's that full 1 inch. And make that match. But now we need to cut the rest of the sleeve cap, front and back, separately. And now I'm going down on that line that I went in 1/2 inch. Looks good. Don't need that anymore. Now we're ready to cut out the front. Let's go to where we had that matched cutting line. Let me match my little hem down there. Right of weight on that. Make sure, yep, there's that cut line I had. Okay. Now I'm cutting this separately. Front and back is separate. They have separate shapes. They're different. The back sleeve cap will go out a little bit more than the front because our arms move forward most of the time. If we fold it in half, this looks really good. So now we have one type of sleeve cap. But we can also add a little bit of fullness to the top here. And we can go ahead and slash and spread and make a different one. So here's our first kind of sleeve cap. We're going to put our arrows on our grain line, and we're going to call this a cap sleeve. And you would need to cut 2. Self would be out of the whole matching fabric. Your name, your date, there you go, right? But we can take this cap sleeve and you can make another design from this basic one. So let's go ahead and grab another piece of paper. And if you don't have pattern paper, you can use butcher block paper. You can use brown wrapping paper. You can use tracing paper. And you can use 8.5 by 11 pieces of Xerox paper taped together. This is just convenient because it has a grid system. And I've used this type of paper for many years. We'll start with a grain line. Take the cap that you already have and go ahead and place it on there. Match that grain line. Go ahead and weight that down. Now let's go ahead and trace off the back. The sleeve cap. I just did that underseam. Let's transfer notches. And we'll trace off that hem. We've just traced off the back. Go ahead and fold it on the grain line. And let's go ahead and you can cut that out. Great, we've cut that out. We just need one half of the back right now, so let's save this other back for another time. Now with the pattern you have right now, we need to go ahead and make some appropriate slash lines. So let's go ahead and you can mark it or you can just fold it. Let's mark over 1 inch. Inch and a half. let's go ahead and fold those lines. Now you can use them to slash. Slash from the cap all the way down to the hem, and if you can, leave the hem joined. Now let's grab another piece of paper. We're going to fold this in half. We're going to find the middle. Draw that grain line. Crease that grain line from the middle out. Now we're going to take the sleeve cap that we've slashed, take some tape, and you can tape it at the hem, and then you can space it apart up at the top. And this would add gathers. So I just marked 1/2 inch. Taping that down, leaving this 1/2 inch, and here is 0. We'll space this out again. I'm going to mark another 1/2 inch.